acrylic, man, the things that you need. This is one really good thing to have if you're going to try acrylics. Okay. This is a mixing guide, you know, so it has all the different colors on it, and it'll tell you if you pick a square and you go up, figure out which colors it took to make that. This is very important. When it comes to brushes, there's a plethora of different styles of brushes. You know, you could paint like Bob Ross, and you have these big house paint ones, you know, you're going to paint a happy tree and all that. You've got brushes that are great for varnishing. And me, as a photorealist, I use these little tiny ones. These are as small as 18 zeros. They've got about a dozen hairs on them. And you've got Dagger brushes. You've got all these different style brushes for different techniques, whether it's for flowers or for maybe you're doing hair, you're doing an animal or anything like that. So there's a ton of different brushes, and we'll go over that too, to show you and tell you why there are so many different brushes. You know, like this is a rake brush, and you got Dagger brushes. And what is a Dagger brush for? I use this to do hair because it's perfect. It's great for, you know, long frickin' flowing lines and all that. I mean, these things hold a lot of paint. You can continuously move with it. It's really nice. As far as the paints, there's all different kinds of brands, and I encourage you, when you go out and get your first paints, maybe get a starter set with a bunch of different colors. And then once you master that and the way those things break down, because we add water to everything, you know, to get it to a certain consistency so it flows well. We don't work directly out of a tube ever, you know, unless it's oil, but then we add additives to oil to try to make it dry faster. So it's important. Find a brush you love, and I encourage everybody to actually listen to the ones that we suggest. We don't get paid by these companies, but trial and error over the years, these are some of the best brushes I've ever had in my life. They're not expensive, they're readily available for everybody. You don't need a sable brush that costs you $30 for a brush this size, because for me, the bristles would fall out all the time. I would be constantly picking them out of my painting. And then you got to pick varnish, depending on what you're using. There's all different kinds of varnish. Liquitex makes a great one. This is a gloss varnish. I like the gloss. I think it really makes the colors pop a lot more. Some people like that satin finish, but you got to figure out what type of varnish you're going to use, and that depends on what you're using, whether it's acrylic or watercolor or oil. You know, so that's real important too for you. So the next thing we have to talk about is, what do you paint on? I use Belgian linen on a roll. This is pretty pricey stuff, but over the years, I've been using this for probably 30 some odd years. It's expensive. You got to cut it to size. You got to make your own stretcher bars. You got to stretch your own stretcher bars and all that. I would think this is not the way you want to start. You do need great canvas, though, quality, because the better the products you work with, I think, the better your pieces look. So here's a couple of other things, too. There's clay board. So this is a piece of masonite that has a clay finish on it. And what happens when you use, say, acrylic or watercolor or gouache, the clay actually activates along with the paint. So if you take watercolor and then you take gouache, gouache is watercolor with chalk in it. So basically it's opaque watercolor. And what happens when you use a clay board, the water in your watercolor actually activates the clay to make your watercolor paint more opaque. So what's nice about this is you could paint this, and maybe you come back out the next day and you're looking at it thinking, I don't really like the way that came out. You can wet your brush, you can go right back into this, and you can reblend it. Even though it's all dry, you can reactivate it with just water on your brush. So clay boards I've used a lot. This is a great product. And then you get into different kinds of paper. This is black paper, which is really nice. You can actually use the black as all the dark areas of the painting and just bring the lightness into it. I just did a series of animal paintings using black paper. And so say if it was a cheetah and all the black spots were the paper. So all I did was bring out the hairs out of the darkness. So this is another great thing. Then you've got your Your canvases that are already stretched, they're on a canvas stretcher bar already. Usually they're a little cheaper. They're not great quality canvas. These are cotton. This would be called cotton duct. I don't really like using this. There's a major difference between really fine canvas and cotton canvas. It's all about price for a lot of people. If you can afford the better stuff, start with the better stuff, because you're going to get spoiled immediately and you're never going to go back to this. If you start with this and you get used to it and then you try this, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm never using this again. You're going to get rid of it. So, but again, it's about price. This stuff is inexpensive. This stuff is real expensive. Next, you got Arches paper. So Arches paper, this is handmade paper from France. It's been around a couple hundred years. We use this. This is all handmade pulp. It comes in different thicknesses. I believe this is a 140 here, and there's 140, 200, there's 300, there's 80 pound. And the pound, the higher the number, the thicker the paper. And the reason we use 300-pound paper is that when I'm using watercolor, the watercolor distorts and shrinks the paper pulp. And so it gets rippled. And so the thicker the paper you use, that won't happen. So when you're using 300-pound paper and you do a watercolor, it's flat. So when you go to frame it, you're not going to see these ripples underneath. This is only a 140-pound paper. If I get this and do watercolor with this and I do it really wet, this is probably going to ripple a little bit. So normally what I'll use this for, this thinner ones, I'll do pen and inks on this. And we'll go over pen and inks too, because that's so much fun. You can do these pen and ink pieces and then hand watercolor them afterwards. And I love doing those. So I'm like excited. I'm getting like goosebumps for you guys. You know, this is exciting. You share this, you know. I'll probably even get Jimmy in here too. She was a art teacher for a long time. She's got a lot of techniques too. So you got to figure out what you're going to paint with and then what you're going to paint it on. So there's a lot of things to figure out before you even put that brush down for the first time. It's crazy. There's no wrong way to paint. You know what I mean? Everybody, if you want to paint, you should frickin' paint. It's a great escape for everybody. I mean, I look forward to the part, like right now in this painting, this is probably half done. And I'm getting to the point where I'm excited to see it finished now. I want to unveil it, I want to varnish it, I want to sign my name on it and show it off. And that anticipation of finishing a major piece is awesome. I mean, I think that's what we do it for. And I think the accolades that you might get from painting and the oohs and the ahs you get from people and, you know, looking at your stuff makes you want to get back and do another one. I mean, I know every time I go and make an appearance, I just got back from Africa. I just had a great show down in Africa. It inspires me to spend that many more hours in front of the canvas to see what I can come up with, what I can, you know, blow people away with, you know. And I think that once people start painting and showing it off, and then all of a sudden you got a frame. Whoa, can you paint my cat? Or, you know what I mean? Or I'd love to see you do a painting of my car or my dog or whatever it is. You know, it's a lot of people make little cottage industries out of paintings just on the side.